5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Minot State Professional Communications Department proudly brings to you the Striha Sports Podcast with your host, Parker Striha. Hello and welcome back to the Striha Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Parker Striha, and on today's episode, I'm going to be talking to one of the newest members of the Minot State football coaching staff. I'm by no means professional, but I do love talking about sports, so thank you for joining me. He is a former college quarterback, and he has over 15 years of coaching experience. He's also one of the newest additions to the Minot State football coaching staff. Today, I am joined by Mr. Anthony Garnett. Thank you for joining me, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure. Appreciate you having me on the show, Parker.
Well, thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure to have you on. You're one of my first interviews I've done. I have had Coach Pham and Coach Shields, who you were both obviously very familiar with. Yeah, so we're just going to jump right in. I have 5 quick get-to-know-you questions that I've done with everyone. Nothing too complicated, I don't think. So we're just going to start off with number 1. What is your favorite type of pizza?
I'm gonna have to go with the business is Round Table Pizza. It's usually West Coast based, but it's the all Montague meat pizza. Got the linguica, the sausage, pepperoni, maybe some bacon on there. But I'm an all meat guy, meat lovers type of pizza guy. But sometimes I substitute some things. I am one of those that loves pineapples on pizza. I like to do bacon and pineapple. And most people do the ham, right? But I mess with the bacon.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I'm personally an all-meat guy on pizza also, so I'm with you on that one. Number 2, what is your favorite NFL team? And if you don't have one, what is your favorite just overall sports team?
So I'm neutral on all professional sports. So I got a divided household. Mom like the Traders, as I call them, a.k.a. the Raiders. You see they done went from Oakland to L.A. to Vegas, back to Vegas, back to L.A. So she loves the Raiders, and my dad is a Niners fan. So it's like, me being from Northern California, it's tough to just pick one. So I grew up just, neutral and cheering against whoever was a fan of whatever the team is. And like, you know what? I'm just trying to piss them off and act like I'm a fan of the other squad.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Number 3, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Fast healing.
Ooh.
Yeah, similar to like Wolverine. Yeah, I think that'd be the one. You can take a lot of blows, and if you fast heal, you're right back to where you are. I think Wolverine has some extra stuff going along with that, right? But I think fast healing would be mine, especially me in my past and being injury prone.
Yeah, I really like that one. I mean, I like how you and Pham both those are ones I haven't really heard of. I think he had one with like multitasking, like being able to do a bunch of things at the same time, which one I'd never really heard of, but when you really think about it, it's a really good power to have.
Indeed, yeah.
Number 4, are you team LeBron James or team Michael Jordan?
I'm going to go MJ all day, and actually Kobe before LeBron. But LeBron's 3 to me. He definitely is. When I say Magic Johnson before, But yeah, I used to be a big fan of Michael Jordan when he retired back in the 90s. I was a little upset because I was, a young kid around 10 years old or whatever it was, and didn't understand the situation. But that's kind of when I actually started being neutral on pro sports teams, because I was an MJ fan, thinking I liked the Bulls, bandwagon type deal. He was the greatest then, right, and still is to me. But I don't see anybody ever passing him up. Of course, it's biased, but. All MJ, and then Kobe second to me, and then LeBron after. LeBron's a close second. They're all right there, but I'd go MJ.
Yeah, I really don't think there's a wrong answer for that. I'm unfortunately never got to watch MJ because I believe he retired just a year or so after I was born. So obviously I wasn't a basketball fan, but I don't think there's a wrong answer for that. I think they're both great in their own right, obviously. But and lastly, what is your favorite song?
Man, that's a tough one because there's so many different genres that I like. If you said favorite artist, I would have been able to pick one, but favorite song, I'm going to go In the Rain by the Dramatics, old school R&B soul type of music that I kind of grew up on with my parents in their household with their vinyl records, right? But I'm going to go with In the Rain, the Dramatics.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Okay, so getting into our quote-unquote real questions. First off, I understand you started coaching back in 2007 as a junior varsity assistant coach in Florida. Could you give me a little bit of a rundown of all your coaching stops from 2007 to now being at Minot State?
Yes, I started at a high school called American Heritage School in Plantation, Florida, who's now a powerhouse nationally. But I was a junior varsity quarterbacks, worked with all the skill position coaches, coached the DBs then. Most high school coaches, they got to coach both sides of the football. And then after that, I actually only coached 1 year, and I started training personally just different athletes all throughout the southern Florida area. From there, I went off to Missouri S&T in 2010. I was a quarterbacks coach there, Division II school in Rolla, Missouri. From then, I took a break to get my master's and finished that. Went back to kind of personal training kids up in the Minnesota area, and then went 2014 back to Monterey Peninsula College, my alma mater, go Lobos. Went back there, was coaching tight ends initially, and then had to take over the tight ends and wide receivers. Did that for 2 seasons, an offensive coordinator at Seaside High, my other alma mater, go Spartans, family forever. Went there, was offensive coordinator, assistant head coach. Also was the defensive backs coach there as well, had the whole secondary to myself, similar to what I'm doing here now. Then back to the JUCO ranks, was a special teams coordinator, also assistant in the secondary there. That was at De Anza College in 2017, and then got a call from Arizona State, got to the Pac-12 ranks as a defensive analyst, was working with the whole defense, started with safeties, did linebackers, did the whole secondary another year, and then finished off with the defensive line from 2018 to 21. Had the birth of my first daughter and only child in 21, so I appreciate it, and resigned and took a little break, and then moved to Bakersfield where she is at, and coached at the junior college there at BC, Bakersfield College, and got an opportunity from Coach Littlejohn. He was like, hey, I know you need some flexibility with your daughter, so he's I'm going to name you the senior offensive analyst, just giving me a title, right? But I worked with the receivers there, and that was a great deal. And then Coach Shields gave me the call, and now I'm here.
Yeah, that's quite a ride, and I can imagine that you've had your ups and downs at every stop, I'm sure, just as most coaches probably do. But I know you said, I believe, Arizona State. What was that like going from initially a JV coach all the way up to one of the quote-unquote Power 5 conferences in college football?
It was some getting used to. Obviously, I was at a junior college prior to, so I was working with older athletes. But it was just different initially. You get adjusted and acclimated real quick because you got to step your game up. You either get left behind if you don't. So it was an eye opener. But you've been working your life, whether you're playing or coaching, to do things at a high level, and then if you just respond like you've been doing your whole life, then it's pretty on point. And it's a lot of asking questions to make sure you're on point too.
Yeah. So I also saw that you are a former college quarterback yourself. Could you talk me through the playing career and how that led you to coaching ultimately?
So my mother wouldn't let me play football for the longest. I was a baseball and basketball player and always wanted to play football. I was around the Pop Warner youth football practices, tossing the ball with my boys that all got to play. I was real jealous. They'd be riding to practice with their helmet on their bike handles, and then we were the Seaside Raiders, right? And you see that silver and black going to practice. I'm like, man, I already struggle riding a bike, but I do want to ride around town with my helmet on, either on or on the bike handles, like I saw some of my boys. But I finally got to play tackle football as a sophomore at Seaside High School. Like I said, it's in Seaside, California, right about a mile away from Monterey. It's on the Monterey Bay, about an hour and some change away from San Jose, Santa Clara, where the Niners play. So I played quarterback right from jump, free safety. And then, I went to varsity my next 2 years. Was playing quarterback and free safety then and didn't have any scholarship offers, nothing promising. So went to the local junior college at Monterey Peninsula College, was only playing quarterback. And then I was a qualifier gladly out of high school, out of Seaside. So a year and a half later, I got a call from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo to come be their starting quarterback. Actually, where I met Coach Shields. But yes, I took that offer and ran with it. You know, I had a red shirt, had some shoulder injuries, and after I got all that fixed up, the rest was history. We started balling out. Go Mustangs, ride high. You know, cut a rusty. We did our thing.
Yeah, that's something I didn't know. I didn't know you had only been playing football for a couple years before ultimately going to college. I think that's something a lot of athletes, at least nowadays, don't really think is possible, or some people don't think is possible, that you can only play those 2 or 3 years of high school and then ultimately go to a bigger college football team and then ultimately go into coaching. And that's something that I'm really happy that ultimately you've gotten through that, and that's actually really awesome. But now you're in Minot, you're not in California anymore, so much different climate, much different weather. But how have you been enjoying Minot so far in your, I believe, just month or two that you've been here?
Yes, a little under 2 months I've been here, and it's wild because I've been telling people for the last couple of years I missed the snow. I spent, like I talked about, personally trained some guys up in Minnesota, so I spent 3 winters in the Twin Cities area. And coming from California and right off the coast is different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't get snow. You don't get all this different seasons. So it's good to be back in the Midwest and see all these different things. I've been in smaller towns, and I grew up in a town smaller than this, so it's an easy adjustment. Bakersfield, where I just came from, is a lot bigger. Phoenix area is even bigger,
mm-hmm.
right? But I've been, multiple spots throughout the country, and then when you add the football part to it, it's always all good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've not really met many people that say they miss the snow, but I'm glad that you're someplace where you can enjoy the snow, whether as long as it's not blizzard and bunch of snow like we were supposed to get, I believe, this past week.
Mm-hmm.
But when did your love for coaching start? Is that something you saw yourself doing as you grew up, or was this like, oh, I'm good at what I'm doing, but maybe I can go and help other athletes as a coach?
Well, I didn't dream about it. Like, I'm one of those other kids that's like, hey, I'm gonna play professional, whether it was baseball, basketball, or football. That was my thoughts, and I didn't know I was getting prepped to be a coach. But it just so happened I have multiple uncles that coached basketball or helped with football, all on the same side of the family, and have an athletic background to where it was like, all right, you're kind of already prepped because I'm seeing them put game plans together and how they scheme. And I remember I was in youth baseball, no older than 12 years old, and my dad was our baseball coach, and he allowed me to kind of help with our starting lineup and our batting order,
mm-hmm.
right? And I put myself batting ninth because I was struggling at the plate, but those little things kind of all prepped. And then I was doing things like in 6th grade, creating a basketball league for like the lunchtime elementary school right next door that I just had moved from. So those little things all transitioned to coaching, along with playing one of the main positions, and they call the leader, the quarterback, point guard, pitcher, some of those positions
mm-hmm.
where it's like, all right, you got a lot of eyes on you, right? So you have to act accordingly.
Yeah. And just kind of a follow-up to that, I mean, you've been doing it since 2007 and even earlier with like the stuff in, I believe, what did you say, middle school, high school, or not middle school, when you were making that little basketball league?
Yeah, it was for an elementary school.
So, I mean, you've been doing this for a while. I was like, what keeps you going? Like, why do you love coaching so much?
It's the satisfaction of what they do after sports, whether they're still in it or not. After they're done playing for me, what are they doing after? And I got guys that are still in it, and they're at higher coaching positions than me and at Power 5 levels. Like I got, I call him my little brother. He's just won 2 national championships at University of Georgia, right, as a grad assistant in quality control. I got another guy that I coached quarterbacks at in Missouri S&T that's an offensive coordinator, right, at a FCS school. So it's those little things to see what they do after it, whether they're starting to become a father and have great families and they're working in IT and tech, like seeing how they progress. And the story's not always great. Sometimes there's kids that need a phone call that are struggling in life. And those kids, I try to circle back. I'm a busy man, just like every other coach in the country, but I try to circle back and just to check in on them, see how they've been doing. And sometimes, like I said, the story is a little different. And it's like, I wish I could be right there with you to assist, but we all have our own things to take care of, and we try to give them some words of wisdom and maybe make some phone calls to get them a job or whatever it is.
Yeah, I love that. And I know, I mean, I when I interviewed Coach Shields, he mentioned that you were his quarterback, and you also brought up earlier that you did play for him at Cal Poly. How much of a role did the relationship you already had with Coach Shields come into you deciding to come to Minot State?
It was a no-brainer. When you know somebody for 18-plus years, and then the fact that Coach Shields actually offered me a job in 2005. After my senior year completed, I tore my ACL. I remember we were at a bowling alley in San Luis Obispo on campus, and it was kind of like a senior night out, sending us off a great farewell type deal after we had a great season. And he told me that, hey, I might be taking this job. I want you to come coach with me. Me being younger, still thinking I'm about to bounce back from this ACL injury. I want to play professionally still, whether it's in Canada, arena was big then, NFL, whatever it was. I told him I, kindly declined. And I was like, hey, I want to still play. I still got some gas left in the tank. So I declined him then, and full circle, right? 18 years now, and he has another job opportunity, and he was like, hey, I want you to coach secondary. And I was like, oh, I got it. Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, we'll get it handled. So, yeah, it's a huge role of that relationship, because that's what this business is about, all about relationships.
Yeah. I mean, it's safe to say that he's probably always had his eye on you as a coach. And, I mean, it's awesome that you've had that relationship, and you were probably one of, if not the first guy that he probably reached out to for one of these coaching positions. And I think that relationship is awesome to see you two. I mean, you're now going into, I believe, you're 16 as a coach, and you're getting to play or coach under someone that coached you as an athlete. I can't imagine how beneficial that relationship has to be. But as a former college athlete, do you think that has changed how you coach players, whether that's off the field, on the field? Does that change how you kind of go about your practices as a coach?
Well, the game has changed, first off. When I played, there were no targeting penalties, right? There was no leading with the head. That wasn't a thing back then. So just seeing that to how the game has evolved to worried about safety first, which we should have been doing for a long time, it's like, okay, now I have to actually adapt and coach accordingly, right? We can't say certain things that we would say in the past about how to tackle and how to hit, right? So going from that to what we are, we'll talk about how we do things and how we strike people correct, helps a lot. And being a former college athlete, I used to get in trouble, and mainly because I'd be observing and watching other drills when it wasn't my rep. I probably should have been getting a mental rep with the quarterbacks, but I remember distinctively watching like the wide receivers doing a blocking drill. And they can't even cut guys downfield anymore. Hit below the leg, like below the waist. They can't do that now. But I remember I used to like watching that drill, especially when our wide receivers coach would hold a bag, and some of the receivers would actually cut our wide receiver coach and actually get him a little bit, right? So those things, obviously it'd be fun to watch, but we can't do it now. But I was observing and seeing those things like, okay, if I remember coaching receivers, which I got to do when I'd work that drill, make sure I didn't get cut, right? So seeing all those drills, offensively, defensively, special teams, while being a player, definitely helped. And you learn what not to do and what to do.
Yeah. And also just kind of a follow-up for that, as a former college quarterback, do you think that helps or almost hinders your ability to coach the guys in the secondary? I mean, having that, what I imagine is still that quarterback instinct, what a quarterback would look for in a secondary. So, I mean, do you think that background as a former quarterback helps you coach the secondary corners, safeties and stuff like that?
It does. It helps a tremendous amount of things. But this is a funny thing. People always talk about you should know, or what the quarterback's like trying to do or thinking. And being in that position as a quarterback in a game, I know what I want to do, but it's a reactionary game, right? So I can't tell you what this quarterback is going to do or wants to do. I could give you a good, idea, because nobody knew what I was going to do. You can evaluate somebody and their athletic ability and do those things, but as far as exactly what they want to do or know, that's tough to say. And with the defensive backs now, I try to let them know, like, hey, this is probably what they're trying to do, right? And we watch the film, we watch tape, and we game plan and we scout, and we're like, all right, well, scouting report says that this guy likes to look guys off to the left. Why is he doing that? Because he wants to get our safety going to his left, right? Because he's more comfortable throwing right, or his main target's on the right, whatever it is. And we watch the film and we come up with almost like an educated guess, because you can come out Saturday and do something completely different, which I've been a part of. It's like, oh, I prepped for this defense. We know they do this 8 games out of the year, and then the 9th game when they play us, wait a minute, we haven't seen this all year. So, but we've been prepared for it, right? So those are some of the things I just try to prepare our defensive backs. Like, hey, when I was a quarterback, and every quarterback I've dealt with and studied and scouted, this is kind of what they're looking for, all right? So it's tough to always pinpoint certain things because nothing's 100%.
Yeah. As a new member of this coaching staff, most of the coaching staff other than Coach DeYoung and Coach Pham, how important has this spring ball season been for you to get to know your guys and see this team grow under the new coaching staff?
It's huge because we can only go from what we've seen in the past from some of their game film and now getting to actually see them on the turf versus just watching them work out without pads on and just in shorts. Like, it's a huge difference because now we can get a real true evaluation of each individual. What I loved the most was when I got to do my one-on-one meetings with each individual prior to spring ball starting. You know, it's like, let me get to know you a little bit, at least know where you're from, first and last name, like what's your intentions, you know, what's your goals for the season, what do you want to do after football. Those things meant more to me than seeing them in spring ball because it's like some kids, they're like, hey, I'm about to become a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I just have this athletic ability to where I can contribute to the team. I get it. And there's some guys that still have, like, my mindset, hey, I'm trying to play professionally, right? And some kids have the athletic talent to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, I know, because, I mean, I've been here since 2021 just as a student, but I mean, looking at this team, that secondary especially, I mean, the guys you work with, there's some really good guys in that second. I know Nylan, obviously, I believe has been an NSIC All-American or something very similar to that. Big B's really good. Chrisman, I'm trying to think of other guys. What's his name? Is it Reitzman, Cody?
Reitzman, Cody, and Charlie, yeah.
And now their younger brother is also
Connor's
coming
on his way, correct. Yeah.
So, I mean, you definitely have some good guys to work with. And that team, especially, I mean, I've obviously been out on the field for most of the spring practices. So being able to see this team kind of come together and learn pretty much a whole new playbook, offensive and defensively, I think has been really awesome. It's really beneficial that the spring season itself exists, in my opinion.
Right.
Because, I mean, that gives these guys a whole extra amount of time to learn what they're going to be putting on the field in the fall.
Our timing is great. I've been at the Division II school, Missouri S&T. I got there in August. That was tough, not having a spring season with them and then going into a season with brand new guys. You have a month to prepare and try to get to know people was tough. And so us getting here in February and installing our stuff schematically and then still getting to know guys, like I said, the one-on-one meetings prior to and then actually having spring ball. And we're about midway through. That is huge. But, you know, our defensive back group, we have probably the most or the deepest group, you know, most players in a position group on the team, but we can't operate without everybody else, right? We can't cover for 7 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody, but a lot of people can't. That's a long time to cover somebody, right? And then if the linebackers aren't doing their job, it's still tough on us. And if we're not doing our job, the D-line's not sitting there like, we're getting the ball out in less than 3 seconds. You guys can't make a play. Yeah. So it all works together. We got to all rely on each other. And then it goes to the special teams and offense, right? So no matter who we have in our secondary, whether it be Chase Doty, Deshaun Carter, Teodor Gruevich, like it doesn't matter who's in our secondary unless everybody else is on point.
Exactly. This is just kind of more of a personal thing. Do you have any goals for this upcoming season, whether that's personal goals for yourself or goals that just pertain to the team as a whole?
Personal goals is more relying on the DBs, and it's tough because we have the most kids in the group, right? But having the highest GPA, all right, hoping that our group has the highest GPA. I know I got some 4.0 kids that are great, and I got some guys that are going to be graduating. So hopefully we can get the highest GPA. The other goal as a group is probably, I'd say, top 15 in the Division II level as far as least amount of yards given up through the air. And then definitely top in the conference in that same category. Least amount of touchdowns given up as well. And, those are the two biggest. And then at least one takeaway game, whether it be a forced fumble recovery, interception, and we're trying to get to the house. Got to get to the crib. You know? So those are some of the ones that that stick out. And we can win ball games when we're able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think those are all very easily achievable goals, especially, I mean, looking at that GPA one, is that like a friendly fight between all the coaches? Like my group's going to be the top of this GPA, or is that just kind of like just your own thing that you've kind of kept to yourself?
Well, Coach Shields named me the academic liaison, so I kind of take it more personal. And with our academic game plan that was installed, and I actually went through it as a player, and now having to run it and oversee it is it's like, okay, well, if I'm the academic liaison as a DB coach, our DB should be on point. Like nobody should slip through the cracks, right? And I still have to oversee every other position, and I communicate with every other coach, but we're all on the same page as far as, our whole overall core GPA is on point.
Yeah. And so as a man and a leader or as a coach and a leader on this team, how important is it for you to not only help these young men become better football players, but also better people in general?
It's very important. I go back to, like I talked about, why I love the game or love coaching, right? It's life after football, then becoming great fathers, family men, right? Whatever they're doing in their jobs and their professional careers. That's most important because we only can play football for so long. The body can't hold up. Tom Brady's probably going to set a record for being the oldest guy, to get it done and doing it at a high level. So it's very important trying to see how they progress, right, and see what they do after football, setting them up. I know Jake Hagee, one of our safeties who, unfortunately got hurt during one of our practices early this spring ball, but he told me what he wants to do, life after football, and he still got some life left football-wise. But I was like, oh, you want to be a lawyer and you actually want to be a sports agent. Well, let's see if we can get you an intern, or let me talk, or put you in connect with somebody that I already know that's in that field. And then it goes from there because it's all about networking relationships. And Hagee was like, let me read up on this. I like where you're headed. So those little things, they speak monuments. Like that's the direction we want to head, and we want to set people up for life after football so they can be successful.
Yeah, perfect. And I mean, I think that mindset just as a coach is also extremely just beneficial for these guys, that even if they don't realize it, I mean, the help and stuff that they're getting is out of this world. And I mean, we're just getting into our last couple questions, but for any recruits or guys in the transfer portal that might watch this, what is one message you'd like to give them about not only Minot State as a university, but Minot State football as a whole?
Minot State as a whole, I'm going to say that we have plenty of majors and things that, like I just talked about, setting you up for life after football, no matter what you want to do. One of my favorite majors might be individualized course studies or something similar to that, to where it's like I get to pick my classes. Like I know what I like in life. Like you're not drilled in and say, hey, I'm trapped into this kinesiology major, which I was, and we have that here on campus, I believe, as well. It's like I'm not trapped to just take these classes. Like I can take something from psychology, from automotive, whatever's offered, versus just, I'm going to just get trapped and do this, right? And as far as football, we got something brewing. Oh, man. We've been making strides. We're trying to do things the right way, and we work, right? The players are responding, and they can see it. They're buying into the culture. One thing I continually talk about to my DBs in our meetings is I'm proud of your effort. Right, they're running around, they're flying around, they're having fun. They got great energy, and they're in my office a lot. Right, our relationships are getting built, and they're getting stronger, and they're starting to trust each other. They're trusting me, I'm trusting them. So, all those things, as far as on our end as defensive backs and as our culture as a whole, is trending upward.
Yeah, I love to hear that, and I can definitely vouch for the university part itself, just because I think that's huge for anyone looking to go into college and just what is offered. But last question I have is, speaking of recruits and transfer guys, where can they find you if they wanted to reach out?
Twitter, of course. What's wild is if you reply to one of my tweets, I'll see that versus DM, right? And my Twitter is at Coach_Garnett7. That's at COACH_GARNETT, the number 7. But that's probably the best way, is replying to a tweet that I'm sent out versus a DM. Unless you already follow me, then then I'll see your DM, and then if we go from there, we build a relationship, and we like what we see, then we'll start text messaging. That's the best way to do it. I would love to give the personal number on, but I could put that in the bio, and I already have enough messages from my DBs alone and the coaching different chats that we got, and keeping up with the friends back home and family. It's tough. So, yeah, that's probably the best way. I'd say reply to a tweet that I sent out, whether it was from years ago or whether it was from this morning.
Yeah, perfect. Well, that is all I have. So I would like to thank you once again for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me today. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about or bring up before I send it off?
Well, you probably want to talk about your Twitter or Instagram handle maybe, because you're doing some big things, Parker. And Parker, you see us every day. You're out here helping us out on the field. So it's one of those things I think you could speak of as well as where you might have seen things from the past to where they're going now. I don't know how practices were ran, the prior years, but I know I've been in a few places to where I can tell, like, okay, we're doing things in the right way. And like I said, the energy and the effort is, you can't ever speak for that. Either you're doing it right, you're working hard, you're busting your tail, or, you're not, right? So, but yeah, you definitely, and I got to shout out you, man. I appreciate you letting me come on the show and do my thing while you're doing your thing, and I know your future's bright.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's about it though, and so it's a lovely city, man. It's safe, it's fun. We got the Air Force Base here. We got some great food, some great food. But I'm in the office so much that I don't get to explore a ton. But I've been to some great restaurants, great different establishments. And as I've heard, it's the nicest people and most hardworking people in North Dakota. That's what I've heard. They voted on it. I love it.
Yeah, I won't argue with that. And I would like to thank you for that. One thing you kind of brought it up. I just wanted to speak on it really quick before we send it off. Is you brought up like the intensity and stuff at practice. And as I've been out there, that's something I have noticed, and I think it's awesome. I was on Sam Buchanan's podcast yesterday, and I kind of brought it up. But some of the guys on that team I think I called Blake Espino borderline crazy during practice because of all the yelling and stuff. But I love it. I think that's extremely beneficial for a team just to have that one guy pumping everyone. Whether it's annoying or not to them, I think it definitely helps a lot of guys, and that defensive sideline especially, because I'm with Coach Bruno and on the defense most of practice. They're crazy. Yeah, it sounds like a bad thing, but they're wild out there, and I love it. I love seeing that the team come together. Obviously, they've played together for a couple years, but just the intensity and the excitement that they have after every play, whether that's interception, stuff like that. And I think it was yesterday, there's a couple of guys that dropped a couple interceptions, and they themselves are upset about it, but it was just kind of funny watching the defensive sideline kind of go after them. And obviously not in like a bad way, but just kind of getting after them and just almost trying to get them to, I'm trying to think how I want to word it, but just getting in their heads, like they want that next one so bad, so the team is even more around them.
And I'm not going to name who dropped the pick. It was a DB, and he's from California. That's all I'm going to say.
So if you want to go on the roster, you can do your research.
Yeah, you can find them, especially because we don't have a ton of DBs from California on the roster right now. But no, and he was in perfect position, and he makes that play 9 out of 10 times. That was just the one he doesn't make. He makes the next 9 of them. The intensity, like you said, it's different, I know just coming from the junior college I was at, there was nothing like that. It's a whole different feeling. So I'm enjoying it. I really am.
Yeah. But that is all I have for you guys today. Once again, this has been the Striha Sports Podcast. Today I was joined by Coach Anthony Garnett, former college quarterback, 16 years of experience. If you want to reach out to him, you can find him on Twitter. And like I said, that's all I have. So don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you all next time. Peace.